today is one of those days where it's not about how I get it done, it's about how many shots it takes me to get it done. And the way we're going to turn these rounds around is we're going to focus on 3 core skills that you can put into practice when you're on the golf course, so you don't have to do any overthinking. So when we're on the golf course, we want to keep things as simple as possible, and we want to leave the technical work where these issues may arise from to off the golf course, where we can focus on them a bit more and put a bit more time into thinking about them. Whereas on the golf course, we want to go out there, we want to shoot our best scores, we want to have some fun, be with our mates, that kind of thing. Let's get into it. So one of the things that makes people's rounds feel bad or feel like they're going really badly are those top shots. The ones where we're not contacting the ground, the ball's going along the ground and just scuttling forwards. And the way that we can fix that, or the way that we can put into place a temporary solution, is that we have some practice swings beside the golf ball, making sure we're making contact with the ground in line with to slightly ahead of the golf ball. And this works really well in certain situations, particularly when we've got very funny lies like here. You can't really see it on camera, but I'm standing quite a bit above the golf ball, which should make that top shot more likely, because if I'm not getting the club to go down low enough already and I'm higher than the ground, then very likely I am going to top this shot without making any adjustments. So I've had my practice swings beside the golf ball, making sure that contact is in line with to slightly ahead of the golf ball. Now I have to go and put it into play. The hardest part is always putting it into play, but I've had the practice swings, I know I can do it. Now I just got to go and do it. Really good result there. Let's go to another situation where this one really helps a lot of people. This is a common shot that I see people have a lot of problem with. We've got steep slope behind the golf ball, not a lot of distance between me and the hole, so I don't have to hit it too hard. The biggest issue I see here is a technical issue, but if we're playing golf and we're someone who gets a bit sketchy around the greens, especially in situations like this and we're prone to thin it or top it from here, this is where those practice swings, making sure we're getting good ground contact. Now, because the grass is super long, I'm going to be trying to get the club nice and low and make sure I'm actually contacting the dirt with these ones, my practice swings. And again, I'm making sure that the divot is starting in line with the golf ball to slightly ahead. Now, all I got to do is try and execute. So we're just going to sit up comfortably, just making sure that I make good contact with the ground on this one. Get in. Get in. Ah, yes please. Let's get that ground contact right and then take it from there. We get it fixed on the golf course for now, and we go and see someone about getting some help when it comes to these situations. No prizes for guessing why I've chosen this one for the tee shot. So if we're topping or skying our driver, which is quite a common thing to see when people aren't having the best day, if you're someone who uses the set tees, so those castle tees, unfortunately the tee height hasn't changed since the last time you played. It's going to be you. So changing the tee height might be a very temporary fix, but generally after a hole or two, what we see people revert back to what they were doing. One way I like to see people fix this, some practice swings, knock a ball off the tee, get it set up at your usual height. Now, if you're topping the ball, generally it means your club's going to be too high above the tee or above the golf ball when you've had your swing. So you're going to have some swings feel like you're making contact with the middle of the tee. Then if you're the opposite, if you're someone who feels like if you're someone who's skying the golf ball, that means that you are getting the club too low to the ground when you're making contact. So let's have some swings where we feel like we're clipping the tee to even just fractionally missing it if we can. And I'll try one more time. This way, if we can get good at controlling arc depth when it comes to driver, we're going to find we strike it better. Now, I can't guarantee your direction is going to be great, but if you're striking it better, generally it makes you feel like you're hitting the ball better with the driver. Then you can feel more confident when it comes to tee shots like this, that we're going to hit the shot that we require. Shanks are a pretty common shot that can pop up when we really don't want them to, and they can really spoil a round. So, in its most simplified, generalized way, a shank is when we get the club being too far away from us at impact, meaning that the hosel of the club tends to make contact with the golf ball. Now, there are usually far more technical reasons as to why this happens, and it's individual, depends on the person as to why these happen. But here are two really simple ideas that you can use when you're on the golf course that I find help in a quick fix situation before we need to go and get the proper problem sorted out. So the first one, really simple. When you set up to the golf ball, just set up beside the golf ball and then slide the club out. This means that we've got a bit more room between our body and the golf ball. So if anything, we should generally speaking be able to get the ball striking more towards the toe. Now, if that doesn't work, and it doesn't always work for everybody, people go back to the mean of pushing the club further away from themselves and still end up striking the other heel anyway. So here's a more technical way of fixing it when we're on the golf course, and you can do this in a practice swing when your playing partners are busy with something else. What we can do is we can find a piece of grass or a daisy or a piece of dirt that is just loose, and we can have some practice swings beside that. So I'm going to get this little piece of dirt here. What I'm going to do, there are two ways of going about this. I could either have the golf club on the inside of the piece of dirt or the outside of the piece of dirt. Depending on the kind of person you are, some people like to think about hitting things and some people like to think about missing things. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to set up on this side, so the inside of the piece of dirt. I'm going to have my practice swing. I'm going to try and miss that piece of dirt. That just means that the club is then coming a bit closer to me when I'm making impact with the golf ball. This should in theory mean that I'm not going to get the ball off the heel of the club. A few practice swings like that can really give you the feeling of what it's like to get that golf club and the center of mass of the golf club making good contact with the golf ball. We can do it the other way, where we have the golf club on the outside of that piece of dirt, setting up to it, same idea, but now instead of missing the piece of dirt, I'm going to try and want to catch the piece of dirt. So it's more, in effect, a bit more like hitting a golf ball. So practice swings, getting the club to come back inside and make contact with that that piece of dirt. In theory, again, doing the same thing, just in a different manner. Now that I'm feeling far more comfortable with the fact that I can get the golf club to move in the way I want it to, I can step up at the golf ball and just do my best effort at trying to repeat what I've just done with the piece of dirt. Some days we just wake up and the golf ball doesn't go where we want it to go. It goes to the left or to the right, and it doesn't feel like there's anything we can do to fix it. So a really quick way of going about changing this, particularly when we come to a hole like this, where let's say I've been missing it to the right all day, I obviously don't want to miss this one to the right. Thankfully I've got plenty of room to the left. That's not always the situation though, so we don't always have the option of missing left or right. We're often faced with the challenging decision of whether we want to be more left or more right, and if we're having a day where we can't really control which direction it's going, in terms of it's going always way to the right or always way to the left, we can set up in a manner before we hit each shot that allows us to have more confidence that it's going to go in a certain direction to the other. So for instance, let's just say I've woken up today and for whatever reason my golf ball chooses to always go to the right. Well, obviously I don't want that to happen, so what I'm going to do, I am going to aim further left because obviously there's plenty of room out here, but I'm also going to just at setup, not just going to aim left with my body, I'm going to aim left with my club face as well. So I'm going to give a bit of a twist so that it points further left than it would normally. So on this hole I'd probably aim at the clump of trees over there in the distance. Normally I'd set up with my club face pointed fairly straight at that target. What I'm going to do today, because everything's going right, I'm going to give a bit of a twist. So now that it's pointed slightly to the left, I'm going to hit the golf ball knowing with some confidence that the golf ball is going to start a bit further left than I want it to, and then should hopefully, in theory, stay there and not go anywhere near the danger. Because today is one of those days where it's not about how I get it done, it's about how many shots it takes me to get it done. Yep. That hit my target. So obviously, if I'd been aimed there, hadn't changed anything, it's most likely my ball would have started actually quite a bit further right. With the wind off the left, that is, as it is today, that's putting me in quite a bit of danger. If you do want to help with any more permanent fixes of any of the stuff we've covered in today's video, contact me. Otherwise, I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.